Once, a man approached monks seeking guidance on how to manage his emotions. He was overwhelmed by anger and frustration and wanted a way to gain better control over them. Buddha smiled warmly and invited the man to sit down. "Let me tell you a story," he began. "Once there was a king who ruled a thriving kingdom. One day he decided to visit a neighboring realm, having heard about the wisdom of its king. Upon his arrival, he was honored with a grand reception, including a lavish feast prepared in his name. During the meal, the king noticed a fly in his soup and, disgusted, ordered his servant to bring a fresh bowl. The neighboring king, observing this, said, 'Your Majesty, please do not let this small fly upset you. It's of little consequence.' The visiting king responded, 'I cannot tolerate such things. Even a tiny fly can ruin my entire mood.' The wise king smiled and said, 'Your Majesty, the fly didn't spoil your mood. Your reaction did. You have the power to control your emotions. Don't let them control you.' The king reflected on these words of wisdom and returned to his kingdom a changed man. From that moment, he practiced not reacting to situations that once triggered him. He found he could maintain composure in challenging circumstances, allowing him to make better decisions. The lesson of not reacting is vital for all of us. Too often we react impulsively to situations, leading to negative outcomes. Responding with anger or frustration can damage relationships and cloud our judgment. However, it's essential to recognize that controlling our emotions doesn't mean suppressing them. Emotions are a natural part of being human and should be acknowledged. The key is to pause, process those emotions, and respond thoughtfully instead of reacting rashly. In another part of the world lived a young man named John. He was highly emotional, often reacting impulsively to things that upset him. His quick temper led to arguments and hurt feelings. One day, John decided he had enough and resolved to take control of his emotions. He knew his impulsive reactions were causing more harm than good and sought to change. John began practicing mindfulness and meditation, helping him become more aware of his thoughts and feelings. He also embraced the practice of not reacting. Whenever a situation arose that would typically trigger his emotions, he paused, took a deep breath, and calmly assessed the situation before responding. Initially, it was difficult for him. He still experienced anger and frustration but managed to refrain from reacting impulsively. With time and practice, John found it easier to control his emotions. As a result, his relationships improved. He no longer found himself in heated arguments or hurting others with his words. Instead, he communicated calmly and thoughtfully, strengthening his bonds with those around him. One day, a friend came to John for advice, deeply upset about a personal problem. John listened attentively, offering comfort and support. His friend thanked him, remarking, "You always seem to know the right thing to say. You never get angry or upset." John smiled and replied, "It's not that I don't feel anger or upset. I've just learned how to control my emotions rather than letting them control me. It's a powerful tool that has transformed my relationships and overall well-being." His friend, impressed, asked how he achieved such control. John shared his experience with mindfulness and the practice of not reacting, encouraging his friend to try it out. Grateful for the advice, his friend took it to heart. Over time, John gained a reputation for his calm demeanor. He handled difficult situations with ease, admired for his strength and resilience. The continued practice of mindfulness and the art of non-reaction brought him inner peace and happiness. The power of not reacting is a profound lesson for all of us. It takes time and patience, but the rewards are significant. By controlling our emotions, we can enhance our relationships, make better decisions, and lead more fulfilling lives. The stories of the King and John remind us that we hold the power to control our emotions. While we may not control what happens to us, we can always control how we respond. By practicing mindfulness and learning to master our reactions, we can profoundly improve our relationships, our well-being, and our overall quality of life. Let us all take the time to cultivate this skill and allow it to transform our lives for the better. Anger won't vanish as long as we cling to thoughts of resentment, but it will disappear as soon as those thoughts are forgotten. He who can hold back rising anger like a skilled driver controlling a chariot is the true master of himself. Others may only seem to hold the reins. Clinging to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. A person who conquers their own emotions is far greater than one who conquers 1,000 men on the battlefield. Do not let your reactions guide you. Let your actions lead the way. Peace comes from within. It cannot be found elsewhere. The moment anger enters a dispute, we have ceased striving for truth and begun striving for ourselves. The mind is everything. What you think, you become. You won't be punished for your anger. You will be punished by your anger. The root of suffering is attachment. If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. Letting go grants us freedom, and freedom is the only true path to happiness. As long as our hearts cling to anything, anger, anxiety, or possessions, we cannot be free. Better than 1,000 empty words is one word that brings peace. Everything we are is shaped by our thoughts. Respond, don't react. Respond with reason, not emotion. In the end, only 3 things matter: how much you loved, how gently you lived, and how gracefully you let go of things not meant for you. The one who experiences the unity of life sees himself in all beings and all beings in himself. Happiness grows by being shared. The mind is everything. What you think, you become. Don't dwell in the past, don't dream of the future, focus on the present moment. 3 things cannot remain hidden for long: the sun, the moon, and the truth. The only way to find lasting happiness is to release attachment to people and things. It is a man's own mind, not his enemies, that lures him into destructive ways. An idea developed and acted upon is far more powerful than one that remains an idea. There is no fire like passion, no shark like hatred, no snare like folly, and no torrent like greed. What we think, we become. If you want to soar, you must let go of what weighs you down. Change yourself first if you wish to change the world. Happiness is not pre-made, it comes from your own actions. The trouble is, we think we have time. The mind is like water. When it's agitated, it's hard to see, but when it's calm, everything becomes clear. The tongue, like a sharp knife, cuts without drawing blood. Don't seek to follow in the footsteps of the wise, seek what they sought. Purity or impurity is up to oneself. No one can purify another. Let us rise in gratitude. If we learned a lot today, wonderful. If we learned only a little, it's still progress. And if we didn't learn much at all, at least we didn't fall ill. And if we did fall ill, at least we didn't die. So let's be thankful. The only real failure in life is not being true to the best version of ourselves. The past is gone, the future has yet to arrive. There is only this moment to live. Idleness is a short road to death, while diligence is the path of life. Foolish people are idle, the wise are diligent. Hatred doesn't cease through hatred but only through love. This is an eternal truth. Whatever a person continually thinks and ponders becomes the inclination of their mind. Don't dwell in the past, don't dream of the future. Concentrate your mind on the present. The mind is everything. What you think, you become. Seek no sanctuary outside of yourself. The only way to achieve great things is to love what you do. If you haven't found that yet, keep searching, don't settle. When you find it, you'll know. The greatest glory in life lies not in never falling but in rising each time we do. No one saves us but ourselves. We alone must walk our path.